The story continues with the battle ending between the two legendary swordsmen of all time. To no surprise, the chosen captain of the men-only nation lost, since a simp can never overcome his queen. After being fed up of Karim's antics, Ara starts to ponder about whether or not she should finally destroy him, since he's now just an annoying nuisance to her. Just as she's about to decide, her third eye activates, allowing her to detect an enemy aiming at her, as if she's Wraith from Apex Legends. As such, she turns towards the direction of the threat, only to discover that the Black Serang has reappeared as backup for the fallen elite captain. But just as the boys thought they finally have the upper hand, the Black Serang noticed some strong energy flowing from behind. With him quickly checking behind him, he sees the girl from Hunter x Hunter, asking him how long he thinks it would take for her to instantly appear behind him. But with a stone-cold face, he claps back, claiming that she's probably not as fast as his fingers, but it feels like the two are talking about something else. Nevertheless, the pink-haired girl gets the last laugh as she questions him if he's ever landed a shot on Ara using his fingers. Of course he hasn't, as literally no man can stand up to the power of the future queen, so she instead insists on the two exchanging information instead. Now, the true reason she's here is not because Ara needed help, but because she's still looking for Prince Behemoth and Cow Lady, as they are still missing. And so the Wolves and Crimson Foxes procure a temporary truce as the group discovers that the two have not returned from the Evil Canyon. As Ara gets briefed on their last location, Karim lays on the ground as he witnesses the girl he loves instantly rush off to simp for Harang. This is basically the age-old tale of unrequited love, so remember to move on, guys and girls, or else you'll find yourself a forever simp like this guy. Anyways, he goes crazy like a Discord mod as he watches Ara zoom off into the distance, as if he's a tier 3 sub of Amaranth finally finding out she has a husband. Meanwhile, back to the two lovebirds deep within the foggy forest, we discover Harang laying on the ground, looking like his soul has been literally sucked out of him. On the other hand, Chu looks better than usual, so it's literally like real life, as girls always notice when another girl is getting some good rice cake sieges in her life. Regardless, right before Chu leaves the cave the two were stuck in, she tells him that she can't wait to see him again, since she might get lucky at the Gomage. With the thought of being able to get more rice cake destroying in the future, Harang instantly recovers his energy, so he gives him the thumbs up sign. But then he collapses right after, unable to believe that she was able to withstand the Prince Banana Plantation for so long. Nonetheless, Chu finally leaves, and as she flies off to head back to headquarters, she cosplays Kakashi as she covers her other eye just for good looks. As Cow Lady tracks back the way to the main headquarters of the Crimson Foxes, she realizes that Harang pulled off the impossible as he carried her while injured up an insane mountain. Now that's not too shabby for someone she looked down on for a long time, right before he was able to set his rocket boosters on max force inside her property. Eventually, after resting a bit more, Harang replenishes enough energy, allowing him to attempt an escape from the hostile territory. As he treads carefully in uncharted areas, his eye catches a flashing light from deep down the gorge. At first, he didn't pay much attention to it, but over time, he became fixated on the flashing blue light. Could the blue light be some kind of evil ghost, or could it be the rarest ever blue columbine to be found, as quality indeed increases exponentially the further you go? Regardless, our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle finally makes an appearance as he's stuck hiding behind his shield due to constant attacks flying in. It's then revealed that the attacks are coming from another elite Crimson Fox member, the same one that Mira has a sussy relationship with. Anyways, as the Blondie continues with an onslaught of attacks, all the turtle does is camp and defend, since that's exactly his specialty. Unfortunately, the battle between the two is literally just a snore fest, since it's a duel between an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. But out of nowhere, Ara comes speeding through from behind, catching our turtle boy by surprise. However, she doesn't deliver a finishing blow to the wolf, since she used his head as a trampoline instead, helping her push further on ahead. As she passes by, she exchanges eye contact with her own member, but our author has combined cake trigonometry with twin dragon derivatives. A true masterpiece indeed, as even her own subordinate is surprised to see Ara moving faster than the speed of light just so she can rescue the Prince Behemoth. If anyone ever says size does not matter, just remember, you can have your own mega simp if you become as gigantic as our Prince Behemoth. In the end, our Blondie pulls out the typical stereotype, as it took her a couple minutes to realize she's heading straight towards Jurujam. Meanwhile, Eden feels absolutely humiliated after not being able to react fast enough, as Ara used him exactly like how Mario would use a mushroom to jump higher. Luckily for our plump boy, for some unknown reason, the Blondie decides to give him her collar as if she's hanging it over him as a consolation prize. She then waves it in front of his face like a treat for a dog, asking Eden if he's even slightly curious that Prince Behemoth will be facing off against the future queen of the entire female race at Puzzle. He ignores the question, but he closes his eyes to turn into a savage, so he tells Blondie that although she's not exactly his type, he will accept her offer anyways. Unfortunately, his hardball attempt fails as Blondie sends him flying into the sky like Teen Rocket blasting off again. On the other hand, a black figure appears from afar, but you can only see one eye open. With a single blink, Ara closes the gap with no hesitation, only to find an absolutely puzzled Chu staring right at her. But before Cow Lady is able to move, Ara quickly grabs her face, noting that her skin is more tight and shiny than usual, so you know for a fact that girls can tell from a mile away. Ara also discovers that Cho's collar is missing, so she gets absolutely flustered as her captain questions her about what happened to her collar. Nevertheless, she changes the subject and asks if Herring is okay, only for Chu to reveal that he's still located back at the Forbidden Forest. And with the onset of the updated information, she continues her simp run to Herring even after she's learned that 3 of her own comrades have already done the rice cake fusion with our boy. Now this is the power of the Prince Behemoth, as no girl cares that Herring is made for the streets. Herring's Prince Behemoth is so overpowered that he unknowingly made Ara risk her life by causing her to jump into the Forbidden Void just so she could make sure she can secure a future rice cake attack. Even Cho is helplessly forced to watch her squad captain take the most dangerous route down, as it's the fastest way for her to reach her prince. Meanwhile, Herring struggles climbing up, but he trudges on towards what he thinks is the correct direction out of the area. Luckily for our boy, his educated guess was right, as he ends up encountering a welcome surprise. As he looks up, he realizes that the boots he initially saw belonged to none other than Ara herself. She then finally smiles as her worried look escapes away, happy to see that Herring is still in one piece. He then clings onto the edge of the cliff, unsure on what to do, as Ara doesn't even lend a helping hand and she just stands there staring at him. Instead, she takes the moment to take a good look at Herring, complimenting his face, telling him that she finds his face fun. Eventually, she finally lends a hand, and as she does, she tells Herring to not worry since she won't eat him, although she probably wants him to do the opposite with her. Nevertheless, after an entire day, Herring is able to rest as he has finally escaped the evil forest with the help of a crimson fox. However, as he rests, he notices that Ara is just sitting next to him, busy staring at him, almost looking like she's seen a boy for the first time. Herring says nothing to break the silence, so she ends up smiling, as if she's having a solo conversation in her head. But Herring gets a little bit scared as he ends up wondering if the reason why she's being super creepy is because she's getting ready to capture him. However, she does not deny or confirm his suspicions, but the future queen is starting to look like the crazy type, but at least they can make your head go super hazy. Nonetheless, Ara explains the old tradition of how warriors should not attempt to fight an enemy that just recently finished a battle, so she continues to tell him to not worry too much. But then, out of nowhere, she dropped a nuclear bomb, asking if Herring wants to try and become king. In an instant, Herring's face transforms into what looks like a fried banana, as he didn't expect Ara to ever ask that question. Regardless of his current facial reaction, she keeps staring him down, telling him that she will help her the best she can, so he should give it a shot. It was at this moment that Herring started to have flashbacks to the time his father always told him that he's destined to become king one day. He even remembers a time where his dad told him to give it a shot of attempting to become king, as his dad claims that he too will help him, so maybe Ara is actually his dad in disguise. Maybe that's why Herring still has not experienced the rice cake of Ara, since she's going to transform into his father soon. But isn't April Fool's anymore, so Herring decides to actually entertain the idea of becoming king since she's repeating the same things that his father always said. It's then revealed that the reason why Ara wants him to become king is because she's trying to reunite the two separated nations back to a unified front where it belongs. With all the unification talks, Herring feels a little bit uneasy as he starts to think she should ask Karim instead, since he's stronger. However, she explains that when it comes to women or men in this world, everything boils down to their face, and Karim does not have the face of a king. And so Herring shyly asks if she thinks he has the face of the king, but she doesn't reply. Instead, she changes the subject and tells him that she can't wait to have fun with him at Puzzle, so she's looking forward to the next time they meet. After the two exchange their goodbyes, Ara just flies off into the horizon, leaving Herring behind, barely even helping him at all. So he just sits there, until a hand randomly reaches out from nowhere. His wish of wanting to fly is swiftly granted, as the boys have come to finally rescue him. And for the first time, Herring witnesses Wong smile as the boys are proud of him surviving the Forbidden Forest. In the end, Herring passes out while Wong carries him back home to headquarters with Maru, but the two elite Garimbi members are busy making fun of the noob. As they continue to make fun of a passed-out Herring, Maru starts to complain about how heavy Herring's bag is, but something is seen glowing inside the bag. With the group making their way back home slowly, neither veteran members realize that Herring has actually done it. He retrieved the blue light from beyond the depths.